It's a pleasure to begin our ceremony at the dedication of Inscriptions on the Wall of Benefactors. I'm Ronnie Friedman, Vice President for External Relations and Advancement. I would like to introduce our head table before we begin. At our head table, from its right to its left, have President Menachem Ben Sasson, President of the Hebrew University. And next to Menachem is Chairman of the Board of Governors, or the International Board of Governors, Mr. Mickey Federman, Rector of the Hebrew University, Professor Asher Cohen, Vice President and Director General, Mrs. Billy Shapira, Vice President for Research and Development, Professor Shai Arkin. Before I describe the minutes and how we will proceed in this ceremony, I would like to call upon Mr. Mickey Federman, our chairman, to please address the audience.
Good morning. I'm known for my very short remark. This morning I'll be even shorter because not as Vice President Friedman said, we are early, we are late, and we have a hectic morning, including a visit to the President's home. So let me just say that it's always very, very moving gathering the one here. And you have the most beautiful view of Jerusalem. For those who have not been here before, most of you have, but I'm always very moved by this view at this time of the day. So enjoy the view, and we'll start our ceremony. Have a very nice day, and thank you.
And I call upon the President of the Hebrew University, Professor Menachem Ben Sasson, to address the audience.
You look back 90 years, and you want to think also about heritage. You look towards the old city, and you cannot think but heritage. It doesn't really matter if you are Jewish, Muslim, Christian. It talks to you heritage. The view talks, and everybody has got his or her context. But our context comes from a text. There is a text. There are debates how many years ago it was written. It doesn't really matter today. And this text is a text that it doesn't matter where do you see it, whether it is in print in Latin America, whether it is in a scroll in a synagogue in Paris, whether it is written and typed in New York or Los Angeles. It is the same text. And you know what? We do not have any precedent of any text more canonized than the text that reminds you of the old city, and the old city reminds itself to yourselves. The text is the Bible, 24 books. When in the 10th century they decided to count the verbs, the words, to put a cantillation, to put the end of the verses, to write down exactly where do we have special phenomena in order to canonize it. And it's not from then on. Before that, from time immemorial, the Dead Sea Scrolls, by the way, when you visit the Dead Sea Scroll, please keep it in mind, they are the property of the Hebrew University. However, we know that the text is the same. There are slight different versions in one vowel here or there. It was canonized because people referred to this one not only as a holy text, but as a committing text, as heritage that has to do with your daily life. And that's the connection. You know the past. You are committed to the future. And in between these two, you need a bridge. And the text is the bridge. And the context is where we are now. Well, yes, these walls hopefully tend to change. More names. Yourself, others, next year's. And it goes well, but we want it even to go better. There is one thing that doesn't change. What you see in your front, the old city. As I said, it's great view. 2 more sentences about it. For many of us, Jerusalem is a concept. For others, Jerusalem is a commitment. For many, Jerusalem is a dream. For you, you are the builders of Jerusalem, because anything that you do with the Hebrew University is manifolded project. It's the science, it's the students, it's the professors, so it's human, but at the same time, you build Jerusalem. Great concept, but great deal of work that you have been doing. So each of you is going to have now a huge volume read. The name of the volume reflects old commitment of the Hebrew University. In 1825, when the university opened its gates, the message of Yehuda Leib Magnus was, I want a Bible of the Hebrew University. So we started the Bible project. Casuto was a professor of Bible. He went to Syria to see the Codex and other project. Smuggling the Codex from the copy of the Codex from St. Petersburg. We never stopped working on the Bible. One of the commitments. It's not only reading, as I said. Research, teaching, sharing. What you've got is the Hebrew University Bible. We printed it in occasion of the 75th anniversary. So you know already that it was printed 15 years ago. The first copy was given to the President of the State of Israel. Then another copy was given to the Knesset, and the presidents take the commitment when they start serving on the Bible of the Hebrew University, the same colors that you are going to get. And we wrote also an introduction. And then you understand why do I say the following sentence. It is the cleanest, the most accurate version of the Bible, even though it has only maybe 15 slight differences in between what you are going to get and the copies that you owned until nowadays. Heritage, commitment, bridge, context, and text, the Bible. Thank you for your partnership.
Thank you, Menachem. Dear honorees, it is now time to begin the ceremony, and I'll describe how we are going to do this. I will call upon each honoree to stand with Menachem here at the podium. I or someone else will read the inscription or the summary of the plate of why we are making you an honoree at this point in time in your dedication to the Hebrew University. You will receive the Bible that Menachem described. I should mention that this Bible is used for swearing in members of parliament and the President of the State of Israel, after which each recipient will be asked, or each honoree will be asked to say a word or two to the audience. Obviously, again, as I mentioned before, this is not an obligation. It's only if you wish to do so, and obviously we invite you to do so. And then towards the end, I will tell you what we will do from that point onward. So, if there are no questions, we can begin immediately. The first honoree I call to the podium is Floret Avram and, of course, Menachem.
By the time Floret arrived, we gave the same copy to the Pope 5 months ago.
To read the summary, I call upon Catherine Cohen from France, please.
Floret Avram est née à Paris le 1er août 1932. Floret fait partie de l'exode de 1940 en France. Avec l'arrivée des Allemands le 27 septembre 1940, Floret doit porter l'étoile jaune. En 1942, le père de Floret est arrêté et emprisonné au Cherche-Midi. Sa mère réussit à le libérer avec l'aide de la Chambre syndicale des métaux. Il part seul en zone libre, arrivant à Nice, occupé par les Italiens. Floret et sa mère le rejoignent à la fin de l'année scolaire 42, passant en fraude la ligne de démarcation. Le départ de Floret et sa mère pour Nice va leur sauver la vie. En effet, Le concierge de leur appartement parisien les avait dénoncés. Florette apprendra que son nom était sur la liste pour la rafle du Veldiv qui a eu lieu le 16 juillet 42, quelques jours après leur départ. Avec l'arrivée des Allemands à Nice, les rafles ont commencé. L'institutrice de Florette, mademoiselle Nicoteau, la cache dans la maison de ses parents, puis l'aide à partir à Saint-Gauthier dans la Creuse, où Florette et ses parents se cacheront jusqu'à la libération. Florette a fait inscrire mademoiselle Nicoteau sur le mur des Justes. Florette est toujours en contact avec la fille de celle-ci. Le 18 décembre 1955, Florette épouse Henri Avram, arrivé lui-même de Roumanie en 1948. Le couple établit aussitôt une usine de tricot, Tricano, dans le 11e arrondissement de Paris, où ils vendront pendant le boom économique en 1972. En 1956, naît le premier enfant du couple, Thierry, qui meurt tragiquement de la maladie de Tay-Sachs en 1958. En 1960, naît leur deuxième enfant, Clarisse, atteinte également de la même maladie. Elle décédera en 1962. En 1964, Florette sera soignée pour un cancer du sein. Jusqu'au décès de Henri en 2002, Florette et Henri voyagent beaucoup, très souvent en Israël. En 2013, Florette sera diagnostiquée d'un cancer du même sein et elle a été soignée à l'Institut Curie. Aujourd'hui, on est heureux d'honorer Florette. Et pour conclure toute sa biographie qu'elle m'a transmise, Florette a dit, ces mots sont les suivants: « Ma vie n'a pas été un long fleuve tranquille, mais je ne regrette rien. »
אתה נותן את התנ"ך, והנה, נכון? S'il vous plaît.
Merci. Bon, c'est pour moi un très grand honneur de me trouver ici, parmi vous, et de découvrir le haut lieu du progrès auprès de tous ces professeurs et ces personnalités importantes de l'Université hébraïque de Jérusalem. Et je suis fière d'avoir le pouvoir de contribuer un peu par les moyens qui sont les miens au progrès de l'humanité. Je me suis engagée envers l'Université hébraïque de Jérusalem pour sa réputation dans les domaines de la médecine, de la génétique, de la nanotechnologie, pour tous ces projets pour réduire la faim dans le monde et son ouverture dans des domaines de pointe et sa reconnaissance internationale. Feu, mon mari et moi-même, nous nous sommes associés en faveur de ce centre de recherche sur le cerveau, c'est-à-dire la stimulation cérébrale, celle qu'il vise à renforcer la synchronisation neuronale, qui est une clé essentielle du bonheur, des états d'inspiration et de la créativité. C'est le déclic vers la performance et la réussite pour conserver Israël comme un État unique et d'avant-garde. Les pionniers étaient face à une terre difficile, mais quand ça vous appartient, on peut tout essayer. Ils ont tout mis en œuvre pour vous faire le chemin vers le futur, au sommet de la connaissance, de la solidité de l'État et de la fine fleur du savoir. Alors pour eux, pour vous, pour nous tous, restez l'élite de l'Université hébraïque de Jérusalem. Vous êtes la quintessence de notre avenir et l'équilibre de nos fondations. Je remercie Catherine Belay pour sa disponibilité, son efficacité, son écoute et toute son énergie pour l'Université hébraïque de Jérusalem. Et merci aussi de me donner la possibilité de voir ma famille.
A dedication in the name of Sarah Jane and the late Paul Denson, USA. Please. Menachem? Sarah Jane and Paul Denson, Zichrono Livracha. The late Paul Denson and Sarah Denson of New Jersey embody the spirit of Tikkun Olam. Their dedication to the Lautenberg Center for Tumor Immunology, Cancer Research at the Hebrew University of Jerusalem has resulted in vital research beneficial for humanity. Paul and Sarah Denson first visited the Hebrew University in 1973. Impressed by the work of the Lautenberg Center scientists, they became driving forces in the quest to eradicate cancer through the Israeli-tied and led research. Paul served as the founding chair of the Lautenberg Center's Endowment Committee for 25 years. The couple endowed the Paul and Sarah Jane Denson Scholarship and the Max and Bertha Denson Fellowship in memory of Paul's parents. They spearheaded successful fundraising efforts in support of the Lautenberg Center, raising more than $20 million. Paul Denson was director of the Valley National Bank of New Jersey for over 40 years. He was also president of the West Orange New Jersey Charter Association and a member of the West Orange Economic Development Commitment Committee. An associate governor of the Hebrew University's International Board of Governors, Paul Denson received an honorary fellowship in 1993. He also served as vice president of AFHU and was honored with AFHU's Scopus Award in 1997 and the Torch of Learning Award in 1984. Sarah Denson has maintained a steadfast devotion to Jewish community and humanitarian causes. An active volunteer, Sarah would read to the visually impaired and taught English to Spanish-speaking children. A former elementary school teacher, she was a member of the National Council for Jewish Women and did dramatic work on behalf of the UJA. Through their exemplary efforts, they created an intergenerational legacy defined by caring and compassion. Thank you.
My words today will, of necessity, be short because the breathtaking view and the occasion has taken my breath away. But I do want to thank the university for this recognition. I deeply appreciate it. My one wish is that my husband, Paul, were here to partake of this special occasion. Thank you.
The name of Sir Sigmund Sternberg, KCSG, and the late Lady Hazel Sternberg, DSS, Anne Ruth and Noam Tamir, United Kingdom. Sir Sigmund, Siggy, and the late Lady Sternberg from London have maintained a long-standing commitment to Israel and the Jewish community worldwide. Champions of interfaith dialogue in England and abroad, they have dedicated their lives and energy to foster dialogue and understanding between different faiths. Born in Budapest, Hungary in 1921, Sir Sigmund arrived in London at the outbreak of World War II. Success in business allowed him to become a generous philanthropist to many causes. A life president of the Movement for Reform Judaism, he was knighted by Queen Elizabeth in 1976, appointed a papal knight in 1985, and awarded the Templeton Prize for Progress in Religion in 1998 for his interfaith work. Lady Hazel Sternberg was a social worker and highly skilled bereavement counselor. She was the first Jewish woman to be awarded the Dame Commander of the Papal Order of St. Sylvester. Both Sir Sigmund and Lady Hazel were loyal friends and supporters of Israel. Sir Sigmund became a governor of the Hebrew University in 1970, and was made an honorary fellow in 2011. Noam and Ruth Tamir believe passionately in promoting dialogue, pluralism, and social justice. Born on Kibbutz Kfar Upin, Noam studied computing and industrial management engineer at the Technion Haifa. A captain in an elite unit in the Israeli army, Noam was the youngest officer to participate in Operation Entebbe in 1976. In London, Noam established healthcare learning company, which has become one of the world's leading healthcare education providers over 50 countries. Noam was appointed a governor of the Hebrew University in 2014. Ruth Tamir is a highly experienced childbirth educator and lactation consultant working in the NHS and in private practice.
There is another Bible, but one is enough for the sermon.
I think I'll take it away and give it to you later.
Thank you again. Dear family, friends, fellow supporters and governors, faculty and staff of the Hebrew University. This morning is a very auspicious and memorable occasion for Noam and I. As we all stand here in this beautiful spot overlooking the old city of Jerusalem, a city where communities from all faiths and cultures have lived side by side for thousands of years, none of us underestimate the immense challenges of this age to all work together to enable us to live in a shared society where we live with tolerance, pluralism, and respect for one another. I was privileged to grow up in a family where caring for others within our own Jewish community and in the wider society, in the UK and in Israel, was paramount. My father, Sir Zygmunt Sternberg, who will celebrate his 94th birthday tomorrow, and my dearest late mother, Hazel, both worked tirelessly to build a more equal, tolerant, and just society, and were huge champions of interfaith in the UK and abroad. They instilled in me strong values of tolerance, pluralism, and respect for difference, and also the imperative and pleasure of giving not only money, but time and energy to furthering causes that improve the society that we all live in. Long-standing friends and supporters of Israel, and in particular of the Hebrew University, my parents wanted to leave a legacy that embodied their vision of shared dialogue. Noam and I hope that this new chair in comparative cultures will lead to more bridges being built between communities and where we can all learn and be enriched from one another's cultures, backgrounds, and faiths. Thank you again.
אני אוסיף כמה מילים בעברית. קודם כל ברצוני להודות לכל אלה שבאו היום, משפחה, חברים ולסגל האוניברסיטה. חלקכם הגעתם ממקומות רחוקים כמו ניו ג'רזי או מארצות הברית, מפילדלפיה, מהונגריה, ויאנה ומכל רחבי הארץ, ולהגיע ממדינת תל אביב לכאן בבוקר, זה לא קל. לצערי אבי שהוא מעל גיל 95, שמה שאנחנו עושים, הצ'ר יוכרז ביום רביעי, הקתדרה, אבי לא הצליח להגיע בשם הרעה במצבו. רוב עיסוקיי מתרכזים במדעים המדויקים, ולמרות זאת אני חושב שהחברה שמקדישה את רוב מרצה ותעסוקותיה בתחום המדעים המדויקים בלבד, הינה חברה רבת פונקציונליות, אבל חסרת ערכים. לכן אני מאמין שתרומתנו זאת לקתדרה החדשה בתחום החברתי עשויה לעזור לא רק לאוניברסיטה, אך גם לחברה בארץ ולחברות רבות בעולם. כיום אנו מורגלים יותר ויותר לתנודות אוכלוסין בעולם, ומאז מגדל בבל המקראי נרמזנו לכך שהיכרות תרבויות אחרות והיכולת לתקשר בסביבה זו היא תנאי הכרחי להישרדות. אני מקווה שהאוניברסיטה העברית תשכיל לנצל את הקרן והקתדרה החדשה שלנו, לשפר, לחדש ולחנך במחקר, פרסומים וחינוך בתחום חשוב זה, ותהיה מנוף להתקדמות לא רק בציון, כי אם גם לגויים אחרים. אני רוצה שוב להודות למנחם ולחברי הסגל שנתנו לנו את היכולת להתחלק ולהוסיף בתחום הזה שבעינינו מאוד מאוד חשוב.
As in all ceremonies, we have musical interludes. I would like to introduce Gilad Efrat, Hila Epstein, and Keren Tenenbaum, who will now play Be'er B'Sadeh, Well in the Field, composed by Emmanuel Zamir. Thank you very much for that. They'll be back. The name of the Soika family generation, the late Alex, Sylvia, Mark Adam, please. On behalf of the Soika family generations, the late Alex, Sylvia, and Mark Adam. Sylvia was born in Brussels, Belgium, and when she was 1.5 years old, she immigrated to Montreal. Sylvia's father, Alex, spent a year at the Hebrew University in 1937. Afterwards, he went to Belgium and was there when the war broke out. He fought under the British in several of the Free Armies. Sylvia's mother, Niusia, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, was a hero of the Polish urban resistance, Zygota, and some of her wartime work has been displayed in Yad Vashem. Sylvia's parents met and married in Belgium. After completing a BA in English literature at McGill University, Sylvia completed an MA in comparative literature at the Sorbonne in Paris and then studied economics and finance. In Canada, Sylvia's father started a successful stationery and office supplies company. Shortly after returning to Montreal, Sylvia joined the business, and for the next 35 years, she played a vital role in the growth and success of Sotal Limited. As a young female executive, Sylvia soon became the face of the company. She sold the business in 2010, and upon Alex's death later that year, became the president of Soika Holdings Incorporated. To honor her father's strong connection to the Hebrew University, Sylvia has made a major commitment, which has created an international cooperative research project in pancreatic cancer. This project is currently underway at the Institute for Medical Research Israel Canada, IMRIC, the Ontario Institute for Cancer Research, Toronto, and the Sheba Center of Tel HaShomer Hospital in Tel Aviv. Sylvia has a wonderful and supportive son, Mark Adam, who she hopes will continue the family's philanthropic efforts into the next generation.
Chairman of the Board, President Ben Sasson, honored members of the dais, fellow supporters, dear family, cherished friends, ladies and gentlemen, thank you to the Hebrew University for this honor, and thank you for your presence here this morning, which creates this very special moment for Mark Adam and me. I anticipated that I would be overcome by emotion in this beautiful place and in this exceptional company, and I am. I want to say just a few words about how my family is inscribed on this wall and what it means to me, but before I do, please indulge me as I share with you just for a moment the memory of the member of my immediate family whose name is not inscribed here, but whose contribution to this moment and to many moments in many people's lives is arguably even more visceral, my mother, Nusha. My mother was a genuine wartime heroine. She saved lives. 99 lives saved have been documented as attributable specifically to her efforts, which always indicated logically to me that there must in fact have been many more. That is why some of the work she did as a member of the Polish urban resistance group, Zygota, is displayed in Yad Vashem. My father said when she died that she had been the love of his life. She was my son's beloved grandma, and it has been my great honor to be her daughter. Thank you. My father, as some of you know, was really an exceptional man. Thinking about him as I do constantly, especially in the emotional time leading up to today, I know how lucky I am to have had him long and close in my life and to have profited from his love, his mentorship, his friendship, and the protection of his wisdom, to have had the opportunity to learn at his table and at his computer. Mark Adam adored and was in awe of his grandfather, They had a very special bond. It is in part to mark our luck in him that we sponsored the collaborative project in pancreatic cancer that bears his name. It is an extraordinary privilege for us to be here. A privilege, in fact, born of collaboration and some kind of unspoken cooperation. There is no question that I would not be here if it were not for my father. On the other hand, his name would not be on this wall if it were not for me. And in any case, it would all be greatly bereft of meaning if it were not for my son, Mark Adam, standing here beside me, whose name is inscribed with ours on this wall in hope and anticipation of things to come. Soika family generations, Alex, Sylvia, and Mark Adam. It seems to me that this kind of collaboration across generations is one of the best manifestations of family. And not only in a family, but history teaches us that, generally speaking, collaboration brings good things into the world, and greater things than isolated effort can. We are here really because of the collaboration which we have supported in a community. Community can be many things. In our case, it is a scientific community within and across nations, stalking the killer that is pancreatic cancer. It is a unique privilege as a layperson to be part of that collaboration. It is equally a tremendous privilege to be part of this community of people whose names are on this wall, people who have uncovered the generosity in their hearts and have practiced tzedakah and tikkun olam, sharing wealth and offering opportunity around them in an effort to guide the betterment of our world. It is my fervent hope that these collaborations engender other sharing and other collaborations of these kinds, and particularly in this time and place, of another kind, the kind that leads to living collaboratively across nations in peace.
Family Alvin Siegel, please. Outstanding business and community leader Alvin Siegel is a gifted entrepreneur and a generous supporter of the Canadian Jewish community and Israel. He is the president of the Men's Clothing Manufacturers Association and was pivotal in the lead up to the Canada-US Free Trade Agreement and the North American Free Trade Agreement. He also serves on the Canadian Ministry of International Trade Secretarial Advisory Groups on International Trade. Alvin Siegel began his professional career in Montreal as a factory worker at Peerless Clothing. He rose in its ranks to become its chairman and CEO. Today, Peerless Clothing is the largest supplier of men's tailored clothing in North America. Alvin Siegel has extended his generosity to a variety of causes in Canada, in particular in the arts, healthcare and education, and in the Montreal Jewish community. He is a member of the Development Council of the Canadian National Holocaust Monument, and beneficiaries of his support include Montreal's Jewish General Hospital, McGill University's Jewish Studies Teacher Training Program, the Jewish Public Library, and the Montreal Symphony Orchestra. Alvin Siegel is a devoted friend of Israel and the Hebrew University. He has extended his generosity to the Revivim Honors Teacher Training Program in Jewish Studies through the establishment of the Alvin Siegel Family Revivim Fellows. He has also taken an active role in ensuring support for the Institute for Medical Research Israel Canada, IMRIC. This year, Alvin Siegel was honored with the Scopus Award of the Canadian Friends of the Hebrew University, and only yesterday he received an honorary doctorate from the Hebrew University of Jerusalem.
Thank you. When I was offered the doctorate honorary degree in Montreal by the Montreal chapter, I came to Hebrew University and discovered the many programs they are doing and decided that the Rebbeim teacher training program, which I've been involved with for many years, both at McGill University and the Sholem Hartman Institute, would dovetail together and would aid in training teachers, which I've always felt a teacher properly trained can affect Jewish continuity for many generations to come. So hopefully this program, together with others we're involved with, will continue and go forward. Thank you.
On behalf of the Sikorsky family, Switzerland, Nili Sikorsky. Born on November 23, 1943 in Alexandria, Nili Sikorsky and her family left Egypt during the events of 1956, taking refuge in Switzerland. Mrs. Sikorsky completed her high school years at the International School of Geneva and her university studies at the Graduate Institute of International and Developmental Studies at the University of Geneva. She's a member of the Swiss Association of Financial Analysts. In December 1962, Mrs. Sikorsky joined a subsidiary of the American company Capital International, where she began as an employee and later served as managing director. Mrs. Sikorsky was the chair of the board of directors of Capital International SA, vice chair of Capital International Limited, a member of the board of directors of Capital Group Companies Incorporated, and of Capital Group International Incorporated. She also served as the managing editor of Morgan Stanley Capital International Perspective for over 20 years and presided over the MSCI in editorial board. Mrs. Sikorsky is married, a mother of 2 sons, Alexis and David, and a grandmother of 4.
I think, considering the time, everybody would be very happy if I didn't speak, but I'll just say a couple of words. I think, like most of you, probably all of you, we were brought up in a culture which told us, look, if you were lucky enough in life to, become very comfortable financially, you've got to give something back. One way or another, you have to, I think in our religion it's 10%, but I have found it very difficult to select really how you give it back and to whom you give it back. So I'm going to tell you how I came to this university, because, we're solicited almost every day by different organizations. And I had a son studying at Brown University, which is one of the best US schools, and I went to visit, and They started talking to me, and I said, okay, I'll endow a scholarship there, which is a lot of money. And then I came back on the flight. I was sitting on the plane, and I started beating myself, which I do often because I do a lot of silly things. And I said, why did you give so much money to these rich Americans while we have universities in Israel which probably need the money? So I went back to Geneva, and I started looking around, and I saw an ad from the Hebrew University. I said, that sounds like an interesting university. And I called Julie, who's here, I think, and I asked her, do you accept endowments for scholarships? She said, I'll check. And the next day, I had the vice president of the university and 3 members of the university in my office. And that's how it started. But then you had to choose which scholarship you were going to endow. And I was very, very fond of a cousin of mine who died of Parkinson, unfortunately, at a young age. And it was shown to me a film of what the professor Hagai Bergman of the university was doing vis-a-vis Parkinson. And then I knew that I was going to stick with this university and continue there. Thank you.
Musical Interlude Part 2. Gilad, Efrat, Hila Epstein, and Karen Tenenbaum. The floor is yours. Gad, Hila, and Karen, thank you very much. That beautiful piece of music you just heard is called Shira Emek, Song to the Valley, and it was composed by Daniel Zamburski. Okay, I would now request from all the honorees to please rise. As we say, about face to the audience, and I would ask all the audience to applaud and honor our recipients of the. You must face them, turn around.